Nigeria's external reserves dropped by $177.6 million in March, says CBN. FIRS to access computers POS of taxable persons and firms. Japan stocks jumped more than 1.5% as other major markets closed for Good Friday. This is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. Financial markets in Nigeria are closed in commemoration of Good Friday as the federal government declares public holiday. And in the business of the day, the federal government has called for more private sector partnership to attract needed investment to drive the maritime sector and boost the economy. Director General Bureau of Public Enterprises Alex Oko, who stated thus, reiterated the need for an increase in private sector involvement in the financing of critical infrastructural development in the maritime sector. He said it will make the industry become a major revenue earner for the federal government, while noting that the federal government has simplified the PPP process, which now allows for private sector players to scout for projects that can be financed through PPP model. Oko also revealed that the federal government's revenue from the sector had more than doubled 10 years post-concession. Nigeria's digital revolution has contributed significantly to the nation's exit from economic recession faster than anticipated. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ibrahim Pantami, stated this while briefing newsmen on the activities of his ministry since coming to office.
Produce what we eat, and we must eat what we produce. Before the end of our administration, we want to ensure that whatever we have the capacity to develop locally, there is no any room for importation. This is an avenue for us to create many jobs for our citizens. It is an effort of government to ensure that as long as our citizens have the capacity to do, the priority and preference must be given to them.
The National Information Technology Development Agency says more than 90% of federal government's data hosted externally have now been repatriated to Nigeria. Director General of NITDA, Kashifu Abdullahi, who stated this, said substantial data assets belonging to major ministries, departments and agencies such as the bank verification number and the subscriber identity model registration, hosting over 40 million and 95 million subscribers. Data now hosted within the country. He added that the other databases hosted locally included the National Identity Number, the Integrated Tax Administration System, the Government Integrated and Financial Information Management System, the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, as well as the Treasury Single Account. Now, the World Bank has revised its growth forecast for Sub-Saharan Africa from -5.1% to 3.4% growth for 2021. The Washington-based institution, in its latest Africa's Pulse title, The Future of Work in Africa, Emerging Trends in Digital Technology Adoption, anticipated that the continent will grow between 2.3% and 3.4% in 2021 after a 2% contraction last year. However, the report noted that a slower spread of the virus and lower COVID-19 related mortality, strong agricultural growth and a faster than expected recovery in commodity prices has helped many African countries weather the economic storm induced by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Africa's economy will rebound from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and achieve a modest recovery this year. This is according to a report released by the UN Economic Commission for Africa on Wednesday. The 2021 World Economic Situation and Prospects report posits the continent's GDP will grow by as much as 3.6% in 2022. This is our focus today, and I have with me Paul Alaje of SPM Professionals to speak on the report. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you so very much for having me. Good afternoon.
Okay, a lot of reversal, you might say. The ECA projects Nigeria's GDP to rise by 1.5%, a projection that IMF is considering to review upward to more than 2%. Spring meeting is around the corner. What's the Nigerian economic scenario like presently?
Well, Nigerian economy, according to last report shared by National Bureau of Statistics, is 0.11%. The next report, which we're expecting for last month, just concluded a couple of days ago, we're expecting that we'll get close to 1%, if not higher than that. By the end of the year, we're expecting higher than 2% GDP growth rate. And there are a lot of factors for that. When you look at what we did in 2020, talking about first quarter at 1.87%, economy now seems to be better. People have seen COVID as reality of now, and we just have to cope with it. And the best decision government made was not to go on second lockdown. And because second lockdown did not take place, you could see Nigeria shock the rest of the world because while some other countries are still experiencing, particularly the European countries are still experiencing third lockdown, so on, Nigeria economy, against all predictions, came out of economic recession, which lasted just for 2 quarters. At the end of the fourth quarter, Nigeria economy experienced the first positive growth. Still very slow, still very cautious, but we are confident that with the upward trajectory that we experienced, and when you compare what we had in second quarter of last year, according to National Bureau of Statistics, minus 6.4%, with the economy today, I can confidently say that Nigeria may beat African average, which this organization is looking at 1.5 to 2.1%, because when you look at ICT, it grew above 14%, according to National Bureau of Statistics. Agriculture, particularly the crop production subsector, has consistently grown, has had history of growing even beyond all other ones. And I'm confident that if government will put a bit of more effort in manufacturing, Nigeria may just go back, maybe close to half of what we experienced when we had the 7% GDP growth rate. And that is the beginning, because we are going to cover our population growth rate, which average between 2.67% to 3%.
Okay, how is vaccine affecting changes to economic?
Vaccine is what I call the game changer. With vaccine, business confidence that have remained poor, according to CBN rating from time to time, that we have seen confidence being less than 50%, which means confidence is low. I can tell you the subsequent confidence will show much improvement, because people now know that maybe in the next, say, 2 or 3 quarters, even though provision of vaccine in Africa and developing countries has been relatively slow, but when you look at the impact of COVID, even in the continent, it has also been slow. So what I can tell you is, with vaccine, not just in Nigeria or Africa, but the rest of the world that are even buying our exports and we are getting import from, a vaccine that has been increasing in those countries have a way of coming back to rub off on the rest of the world. So vaccine is a game changer, and I am confident that with the continuation of this vaccine exercise going around the globe, and with the new development from WHO telling European countries to focus more on poor nations and developing nations, such as African continent, if they pay more attention to that, Africa may help the rest of the world to even recover faster when you're looking at global average.
Okay, what's your take on the World Bank revising growth forecast for Sub-Saharan Africa from minus 5.1% to 3.5%? 4%.
Well, it's a wise thing to do. You know, Africa, particularly West Africa, shocked the rest of the world. Nigeria took the lead when it recovered from the recession of -4%, -36% in third quarter to 0.11%. It was a shock. Everybody was looking what happened. But that was the reality of things. A few other African countries have taken the side with Nigeria because Africa decided that, yes, COVID is here, it's a reality, it's real. We're washing our hands, it's going on, social distancing is also there. But more importantly, if Nigeria can grow and the rest of Africa can grow with vaccination, giving vaccine also in process going on around the world now, what is common sense for people to do is to go back trade activity to continue. And you have heard what World Trade Organization led by Howard also saying we need to resume trade. We don't need to contain. We need to put our protocol in place. We need more vaccines to be given, distributed evenly according to population and based on need. So if this continues, I am saying that what World Bank have said is a part of wisdom. And I also think that even if we may not achieve 3% GDP growth rate, maybe as Africa or we do, but I'm confident that before the end of this year, this is just the 4th month, Nigeria will surpass what we had at pre-COVID experience.
Okay, the U.S. 2021 report that it says the only way to offset socio-economic devastation resulting from the pandemic is to make smart investment in economic, societal, and climate resilience. The question is how?
Okay, so when you look at the peculiarity of Nigeria, so we bring it home. Nigeria government is currently generating the rest revenue, and President Buhari had said in 2019 that the biggest challenge to government now is revenue generation. If you don't have fund, you cannot invest. But thankfully, Central Bank have said through the last MPC report, according to Central Bank governor, we're observing what the market, what the GDP growth will be. Maybe we might just review NPR. When NPR is reviewed a bit upward, we're going to get much needed investment. Now, to cap it, Minister of Finance has also said we may now need to focus on investment, foreign investment, to see if we can encourage foreign investment along agriculture so that food supply will significantly increase. So what it means to me is what President is saying is being taken by Central Bank Governor, Minister of Finance, to see how these three conversations can match together. And investment, according to Central Bank report, we know we help to boost consumption. When consumption increases, poverty would increase, poverty will reduce, living standard of the people would increase, and that is how we can reclaim some of the losses we have had during the pandemic that was never planned for by anyone in the world.
You made mention of poverty eradication. The target to eradicate poverty by 2030, as contained in the SDG, has now been set back. How deep is this cut, and what are the implications for Africa and Nigeria?
Well, a lot of implication. I can tell you not less than 15-20 million people has been thrown to poverty net within the African continent alone. According to a report from UNDP, quite a number, millions of Africans have been thrown to poverty net. Lockdown did not do a lot of good, even though governments of African countries and the rest of the world, in fact, envisage so that they can save lives. But unfortunately, like I said on this program many months ago, I think last year, that COVID is not just after health of people, it's more importantly after economics of people. What should Africa do? Strategic program, starting with making necessary infrastructure available for people that are poor so that they or their proxy can directly engage in economic activity that can give them what is above $1.90 a day in terms of a revenue for them, and also get multiple of that so that they can take care of people that might be poor today or people that are close to them, their family, their relatives that might be thrown into poverty bracket. So handing capacity, skills, and bringing sustainable environment for private sector to invest in so that we can get more and more people who are not earning today to earn, either through direct employment or through say entrepreneurship or through small businesses, particularly paying attention to small businesses. And I know that if we do this, not just in Nigeria, even the rest of Africa, we are going to move a lot of people out of poverty bracket. A country did it before. Within 20 years, move about our population out of poverty bracket. Okay. Africa can join the rest of the world to move more and more people out of poverty bracket. Will it be with the speed of light that COVID struck? I doubt. Because to destroy is easy. To build takes time. What we need in Africa is a bit of time so that we can move our population from poverty to prosperity. prosperity.
Now, let's look at the role of poverty eradication. How will it shape other SDGs and recovery in the continent?
So if somebody is poor, for instance, it cannot go to school. So when you have a rural parent, then they are predominantly peasant farmers that use hoes and cutlass. Recall, the child you call out of school, to them is labor. It's additional hand they cannot afford. So if you don't eradicate poverty, forget health, forget education, forget so many other things, even housing, until you are able to feed the stomach. What is in the head is evil, is hunger, and is penury. When we are able to remove poverty, in fact, an African adage says, when poverty and hunger leaves someone needs, then the remaining is but simple.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's good having you on the program, Mr. Paul Alaje of SPM Professional.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you. Now, moving on, in a bid to effect quality control in the power sector, the federal government is putting up mechanisms to ensure adherence to technical requirements in providing 36 million meters directed by the president. Minister of State Power Godi Jedi Agba gave the indication during an inspection tour of a test station in Enugu.
Our facility here will test that it is what meets what Nigeria requires before you install.
Every country of this world has their own technical requirements, specification for any equipment. And for meter in Nigeria is the Nigerian metering code. So any meter that has not passed through here cannot be installed, cannot be used.
The Management of Development Bank of Nigeria, DBN, has released its 2020 financial report, which showed a huge increase in the volume of loans disbursed by 89% from 101.5 billion naira in 2019 to 191.7 billion naira in 2020. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the DBN, Mr. Tony Okpanachi, said the growth is consistent with its core mandate of facilitating substantial socio-economic development by improving financial access for micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. The bank had in a statement announced a growth of 4% in total assets from 474.7 billion naira in 2019 to 493.5 billion naira in 2020, while outstanding loans increased by 110% from 101.9 billion naira in 2019 to close at 214 billion naira in 2020. The bank's earning remains strong at 34.6 billion naira in spite of the harsh global realities brought about by COVID-19 pandemic, as well as other macroeconomic challenges encountered during the year. Now, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, says it will soon begin to access computers and electronic storages belonging to taxable individuals through its automated tax administration solution. Executive Chairman of FIRS, Mohammed Nami, said the new directive is in line with Section 25, Subsection 4 of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act 2007 as amended by Section 51 of Finance Act 2019. The new action is expected to start by May 1st, 2021. It also said the service will connect at relevant point of sales or invoicing platforms of all taxable individuals and firms who are required to grant FIRS access to all computers, electronic devices or cloud computing facilities wherein records, data or information are stored or otherwise residing. Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Federal Capital Territory has reaffirmed the position of the Senate that the FCT Inland Revenue Service be totally independent from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Chairman of the committee, Senator Abubakar Kyari, was speaking at the 2021 budget interaction with the chairman of the FCT Inland Revenue Service, Abdullahi Atta. The committee reacted to the provision of 1 billion naira to be paid to the Federal Inland Revenue Service by the FCT Inland Revenue Service.
We want to pay 1 billion naira to FIRS. What is that 1 billion for? So we have a transition arrangement with FIRS in which they gave us 8 of their offices that was already collecting on behalf of FCT. They were using 220 staff to do this work when they were FRS. We requested for half, so they gave us 117 staff. So they gave us 10 vehicles, gave us 117 staff. So we agreed that we will pay them some percentage of our collection.
We have agreed that that's it, nothing more will be paid to FIRS. They're not to collect anything on your behalf. We have given you all the support that you require, 100%, and you are still charging 1 billion again to go to FIRS. For what?
You intend to buy some properties. The chairman, I don't think buying of properties for your offices should be a priority now. Please, we need as much money as possible for FCT to undertake various developmental projects.
The committee harped on the need for the automation of the FCT IRS for a more efficient service. The Central Bank of Nigeria says Nigeria's external reserves dropped by $177.6 million last month. This is according to data released from the bank, which also shows that the country's external reserves dropped from $36.99 billion on March 1st to $34.82 billion as of March 31st, while the sharp decline in the country's external reserve has been attributed to a couple of factors. The major problem has been the foreign exchange market's pressure, and the rise in crude oil prices had failed to halt the slide in Nigeria's foreign reserves. With that, let's take a trip to the currency market. The Nigerian stock market is closed and will also remain closed Monday for the Good Friday and Easter Monday public holidays. The all-share index ended down 0.57% for the month of March and 0.33% in the first trading day in April, as the Securities and Exchange Commission approved the appointment of chief executive officers of demutualized entities of the exchange. But some markets around the globe are open for business. Japan stocks jumped more than 1.5% as the U.S. recorded job growth in March, surpassing projections. Boside Abel is our guide.
Shares in Japan jumped on Friday after the S&P 500 surged to a record close overnight on Wall Street. The Nikkei surged 1.58% to close at 29,854. Shanghai Composite was up 0.52% to 3,484.39, while Hong Kong and Singapore were closed for Good Friday. European investors are digesting data releases from the region Thursday that can offer more clues on the state of health of the European economy. In the United States, the S&P 500 crossed the 4,000 threshold for the first time Thursday as Wall Street built on a solid march following the rollout of President Joe Biden's infrastructure plan. While in Africa, most stocks are closed to observe Good Friday. Boside Abel, Business Express.
Now, oil prices rise after OPEC Plus meeting that resolved to increase output. Let's see how commodities are faring in the global market. With that, we come to the end of Business Express for today. Remember to keep in touch with us by sending your comments, observations and suggestions via our Twitter handle, NTA News Now, and the hashtag is BizEx. All previous episodes of the program are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Monday at 3 p.m. Be safe out there and enjoy the holidays. I am Musa Abubakar.